Kia ora, Stephen. Welcome to
Kia ora.
Takatāpui Talk.
Thank you.
So, how are you really feeling today, Stephen?
I'm really feeling okay. I mean, what's today? Today we're recording this on a Tuesday. It's kind of rainy and cloudy. I've finished my mahi for the day, so it's okay. Tuesday is okay. Not every day has to be a Saturday.
A Saturday or a sad day?
No, I mean, not every day has to be a Saturday where it's fun, fun, fun. I think lots of people expect every day to be fun, 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 but it can't be.
That's why I think that question is really important. Like, how are you like really feeling? And so, sometimes it can be beyond the weather.
I feel, yes, sure, of course, but I think what I was implying that it's a Tuesday, so I'm feeling fine. I'm not feeling anything other than fine. It's a cruising kind of okay day. I feel okay within myself, if that's the deeper question you're wanting to know.
I'm always trying to get at these questions, Stephen.
I know it's early, very early on to be. You've got to warm up for that.
I'm very grateful that you're doing this for me because I know this is not what you have time for these days. So we're going to discuss things like, tell me about growing up in Taupo. What was that like as a kid?
So I was born in Rotorua, interestingly enough, because I know that you're there at the moment.
I never knew that.
Yeah, born in Rotorua, but grew up in Taupo, and it was like up until high school, it was great.
Right.
When you're a kid, and I had a great childhood pre-high school. Right. Felt good, had fun. I had great parents and no complaints whatsoever. My parents are amazing. Couldn't ask for better parents at all, ever. But then high school came along and that's when kids get a bit attitudey.
Yeah.
And for me, my experience.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, kids fell into tribes, their own tribes in the high school, within the high school. And so it got tougher. Mm-hmm. But I was okay. Like, I did get bullied, but I was okay with that because I always had a deep knowing that this is temporary. I've always been very good throughout my life seeing the chapters for what they are. Like, I knew that the school was going to end. Right. And so I just had to write it out. And I mean, it was quite, this is true story. I always felt and knew that I was going to go on and be more fabulous than the bullies. No, really. So I was just biding my time. It's like, you can say whatever, you can throw whatever, you can do all of those things. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be more fabulous than you. And so I don't really care. And would
this come from your family life though? Were you like really supported at home with your parents? Were you an only child, or you had?
No, I've got an older brother, but he left home early. Like, he's 7 years older, right? And he left home when he was about 16 to do his own thing. So, in some ways, throughout those high school years, I was the only child at home.
Yeah.
So a bit like being an only child. Yeah, but I mean, maybe I wouldn't. I mean, I didn't come out, so it wasn't like my parents were.
No.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of, I didn't tell them. Like, it would have been a little bit embarrassing to tell them that I'd just been punched today or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was my own thing to manage on my own. It's not something I.
Did you? Was there a time that something really stuck out that you were like, this is just hideous. This is not.
Well, I got beaten up badly.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty hideous.
Yeah.
I had bones in my face broken.
Wow.
Like, it was, next level.
That's bad. Yeah, that's next level bashing.
Yeah, it was bad. Like, the police were involved. Like, it was.
Wow. Okay.
Like, it was bad, but it didn't psychologically.
No.
Like, again, I knew I was going on. Like, I knew this was. I was almost like as a bit of an old soul in a young body, just waiting to get out of here. Like, so. Whatever. In a couple of years, I'm gone. So it didn't. And I know that that's just me. I know that kids get bullied and it has deep effects on them, and I completely understand that. And that's. But in some ways, I don't carry. I feel. I mean, I could be wrong. Like, a psychologist could say I'm deluding myself, but I was just biding my time.
I probably would have gone through the same thing too, but I just thought I wasn't them, so I never really cared either, to tell the truth.
Yeah.
I never,
Yeah.
I wish I thought that it was going to end. I never thought like that, but I
Yeah.
thought at the time, I just thought I was sort of above a lot of those people, and there was a lot of violence and all that sort of stuff. Who
Yeah.
I feel is for your mum. Like, I mean, what was that like? Especially that terrible attack. It must have been horrific.
It was there was an walk going home to tell my parents, and like I was like, a mess.
Yeah.
There was an embarrassment about that. I was very
Yeah.
embarrassed about that.
Yeah.
I didn't want anyone to fuss. I just wanted to go in my room and don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Well, you had to go to the hospital, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But
it was also
that was the embarrassment of it was worse than the actual event.
because of what it did to your face.
Okay.
No, well, that's how I would have felt about it. Trace.
No, it
Look
was
what
just
you've
like,
done to my face.
I just didn't want my parents to worry.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
I'm like, to this day, if I'm sick or something, I don't want anyone to fuss. It's like, don't fuss. I'm fine. Just forget about it. Just leave me alone. Don't worry about it. I didn't want anyone worrying about me.
Yeah, but she would have, though.
Yeah, of course. And my dad. Yeah, sure.
Totally. What about your
just thinking out? So
yeah, you're right.
around that high school stuff, people say, "Oh, people often say, do you have any regrets and things?"
Mm.
It was like, in some ways, it was like I should have just come out because I was getting bullied anyway. You know what I mean? Like I was already getting beaten up. In some ways, I feel like
Would it have made it? So, I mean, because I didn't come out either, Stephen. But I just sort of think
none of us
everybody
did
knew
in that generation. In the 80s, 90s, we didn't. You didn't. High schools now have Pride Week. I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
That's just like blows my mind. Like I can't imagine my high school having a Pride Week or a
No, not
Rainbow Badge Day or something. That's just like so alien to me. But in some ways, I think now, if I'd just come out, it wouldn't have made a lot of difference.
No, I wouldn't have.
And
not
in some ways, I kind of think if I'd come out, maybe they would have seen more of a strength in me. Like, yeah, I'm gay, and what?
Yeah.
Figured, yeah, and what?
Yeah, and what I see. Yeah. It's hard, that situation, though, isn't it? And what? Like, they might still feel the same way about it, really. And it's only because they're questioning themselves. I mean, I have a time when I was 14 and they set fire to my locker and all my books and they wrote F faggot on the cup on the door. And I remember going to report it to my form teacher, and she just looked at me and she said, "Well, Donald, why do you walk like that?"
Yeah. I had a similar
uh,
experience with a teacher telling me why do I talk like that?
Yeah, and I don't know. It's like my God-given voice. I mean, I even carried things like my bag. I'd carry it the way girls would. I don't know why. It's just things that we did as our natural mannerisms. It was being questioned over it. And one thing I didn't also like was being told that I was, because I always thought it was my decision to find out who I was and not have you tell me. Yeah. So I understand what you're saying with it, but Pride Week at 13-year-olds? Like, what are your views on 13-year-olds having a sexuality? Like, that's,
I don't know. Oh, God, I don't think of it as 13-year-olds. I'm thinking more like, 15, 16 to me. I don't think 13-year-olds, in my experience, have a sexuality, but it's more when you hit puberty and you realize you are different. And it's not necessarily about sexuality and having sex, but it is, like you said, we were different. We were the butterflies amongst the moth. It's not about sex. It's about what we were listening to Kylie when they were listening to Bon Jovi. We're just different. It's more than just sex. So in terms of Pride Week, Pride stuff now at schools, I mean, I guess it's good. It's definitely, I think kids these days seem to be a lot more aware of bullying. I think bullying is discussed a lot more. When I was at high school, no one talked about bullying. It wasn't
sure.
It was happening, but it was never like, it wasn't talked about in a way of, this isn't cool. Bullying is a thing and it's not cool. That was never talked about. It just happened, and teachers turned a blind eye.
Yeah, they turned a blind eye. That's true. And I also think at school that possibly there's a lot more support a lot more support at schools now than there would have been before. But it's an interesting question when people say to me, it's different now. We all know. And I said, oh, look, it's fine at school. There's certainly little groups and teachers, and there's a lot more support, but there's nothing online. That's a totally different world. And that's where we're seeing our teenagers or rangatahi really affected by it from what happens online. But we're not here to talk about other people. We're here to talk about you. So,
but we're all connected.
Yeah, we are, Stephen. So your whakapapa, is that on your father's side?
My mother's side, whakapapa to Te Aroha in the Waikato, like through Hauraki, the Hauraki Plains in that area, Tainui. Yeah, my iwi it's a small little iwi that no one's ever heard about. It's called Ngāti Rahiri Tumutumu.
Nice.
And I whakapapa directly to the chief. And it's fabulous. It's great.
That might be why you thought you were beyond this and that things were, that it was going to be over soon. So what did your Māori identity mean to you growing up or becoming a teenager? Did it mean anything to you?
I always felt pretty like I belonged.
Yeah.
I felt like I felt connected to the earth. I've always been a barefoot person. I always walk around in bare feet. I've been connected to Papatūānuku.
Yes.
So, just a sense of belonging. And also, because my grandparents, they moved to Auckland. And so throughout my childhood, I spent a lot of time driving between Taupo and Auckland. And so you kind of go through the Waikato and, feeling, it's very familiar to me, feeling like that's my Turanga Waiwai, I guess, around that area. And even when I die, it's my instructions in my will is to put my ashes in Lake Taupo so that they eventually come up the Waikato River. Beautiful. And they moved through all of that area up to Auckland where we ended up and then out into the ocean.
I love how you know that about you. So did you spend a lot of time on marae when you were growing up?
No, not really.
Okay.
I grew up really culturally Pākehā.
Yeah.
As most of our generation did.
When did you discover it, though? Were you always told? Your mum always?
Yeah, always knew, always told. Certainly not, and it was something to be proud of. It was never not to be proud of it. My mother would to say, "You're the descendant of the Māori chief. You're this and you're that." It was never negative, ever.
So what was it like being queer in provincial New Zealand?
As I just said, beaten up. But, times have, it's interesting because I really do feel times have changed, because when I left Taupo, I never wanted to see it again. I thought, that's it, done. That chapter is closed.
Yeah,
the bright lights of the city are in front of me. Yes. I can't wait, and for 20 years, I was happy to forget about Taupo. But now as I go back more, because I've got cousins there, and the more I go back now, it feels more familiar and more comforting. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, no,
I look at it now, and it's interesting. Like, I'll go and visit, and when I go to leave, it's almost like I never really, I'd be happy to stay a bit longer. So it's almost like, will I end up back there? Will I retire there? It's a possibility, which I never imagined.
Yeah, not Thailand.
Everything's possible.
That's true. So I've always found you, because I've known you for a little while, and I've always thought that you've actually had the most driest humour I would know. Humour seems deeply a part of who you are. What do you think?
Life's short. You've got to have a laugh. If you're not having a laugh, what's the point?
Was humour survival? Depletion.
Yes, but for all of that, through all of that stuff that I've said, for all of us in those situations, often humor was our weapon.
Yeah.
We that's throwing shade. That's what throwing shade is. It was always a defense mechanism, and it's like, well, I can't punch you, but I'm gonna read you to filth.
Now reading was always really good.
Yeah.
I always knew what to do. Knew what to say. It was actually that was also something that was very natural. It wasn't anything I was taught.
It's a defense thing. It's a protection thing. And it makes us, and also you're making people laugh. It's kind of saves us. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it gives us, they're not going to hate, if we make them laugh, they don't hate us.
No. So who was your closest friends? Girls, boys?
Girls mostly. Yeah.
What sort of games did you play?
Catch and kiss with the rugby team.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes.
No, I don't know, all kinds of games. I have a vivid memory
Yeah.
of being in kindergarten. This is how far, one of my earliest memories in my life, being in kindergarten, playing in the sandpit. And then I remember separating the boys from the girls and saying to the girls, come on, now we're all going to spin around and turn into Wonder Woman. Like, seriously, I always remember that. Quite bizarre, but quite
yeah, I always wanted to be Wonder Woman, especially if I played sort of superhero games with boys that I knew, and they'd be Batman and Superman. I'd be like, I'm going to be Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one ever got it. Thank you for sharing your childhood with me. That was, because all these little things are highlights that people can relate to for our viewers. So it's important.
But I think, I just want to say though,
yeah,
if you're, for viewers that are at school and stuff, life is chapters, understand your chapters and know that everything has chapters have, it has a conclusion. You will move on. If the chapter you're in now is shitty, it's not forever.
No.
You will move on. If the chapter you're in now is fabulous, enjoy it because it's gonna, it might change. That chapter might change. So don't, it's not, nothing is forever. You're gonna have different times coming. And that's career, that's life, sometimes partners, just enjoy the chapter or look forward, just realize that it's not forever and it's going to end.
Because it isn't. That's quite true. And, sometimes trade can be a great chapter, can't they? Someone that you picked up that night. So you became
It's more of a paragraph within the chapter.
Oh, okay. So you became one of visible rainbow voices in Aotearoa media before it was common. Did you realize at the time how important visibility was?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. More so later because, I went on, the first media I did was I had a radio show on BFM and I did that for 4 years called Around the Bend. And, then I went on to work for Queen Nation and then I went and,
with Andrew Whiteside, obviously.
Yeah. Yes. And then I did some other stuff for TV1. I was on an arts show and some stuff for Māori television. And I had I had a chat show on Alt TV, which is a music show. And there was, I had my own radio show on Radio Ponsonby for 4 years. When, all that happened, I didn't think too much at the time. I was too busy doing it. I kind of throwing myself into it and just, living a fast, crazy life. But it's later on. It's like I meet people now that come up and say, oh my God, I used to wait for my parents to go to bed and then creep into the lounge and have the volume down really quiet and used to watch it on TV. And it was really amazing because I didn't know any gay people. It's like I hear those things and it's kind of like, oh, that's really cute. That's really, that's nice to know that you.
I forgot you did Round the Bend. These are also opportunities that you created for yourself, though, didn't you? Did you not approach them about Round the Bend?
No, I was asked.
Right.
I was asked. Yeah. Because there was a show before me, Richard Huntington and Charles Bracewell, who pioneered the way, and I stood on their shoulders. Yeah. They were first to do it at BFM, and they did it for a long time, and they were very good at it, and I had nothing but respect. But after years and years and years of them doing it, they finished. And so there was a couple of people that put their hand up to do it on BFM, and anyway, within the mix, it stuck. I had to go, and it stuck, and they really liked it, and so yeah.
What was your formula? What was the synopsis of it for viewers?
It was a 1 hour Sunday night. Bain Devine was often, quite often my co-host.
Yeah.
And we always had guests. It's always been guest driven, between 1 and 3 different guests. I've always enjoyed talking to people, and just between the guests would play music and things like that. But it was all about, for me, getting as many queer voices heard as possible. Anyone that had something was doing something, anyone that had something to promote, DJs, rugby players, actors, writers, anyone who was anyone just come in and we just talked and talked and talked. And it was cool.
Anything stand out at that time with Round the Bend? Because that was so early on.
What stands out really is that the BFM, for because BFM at the time was like one of the top 5 stations in Auckland.
Yeah.
And it was all, people used to, this is pre-internet. People listened to the radio, and we had massive listenership. And I think what stands out is that BFM and all those rock and roll, they were all rock and roll guys, alternative bands, really cool, like the cutting edge. They were fantastic. They were all so nice to me. They were all like just great. That's what I remember. As I remember them, they brought me in, they accepted me in their family of that BFM. I used to go to BFM events. The big day out, we had like big VIP areas at the big day out, and I was always welcomed. Like, that's what I remember, is that they were, just, if you're a good person, and if you're like, if you're nice to get along with, and you're fun, and you're kind, and you're, all the things that I tried to be, that's what matters. It's not, but I mean, like, get controversial. Don't, I like, just be a good person. Like, no one gives, it's easy for me to say, but I do believe 90% of the time, no one gives a shit if you're gay or lesbian or queer or trans.
Yeah, that's true.
I see so many people bleating on. So, I mean, I know that this is going to get me into trouble, but this is what I know you want me to say this stuff. But it's like, often it's like I see people, oh, no one likes me, they're all homophobic. It's like, love, it's because you're really annoying. Like, be a bit nicer, be a bit less irritating. No, like, I don't, I'm 50. I turned 50 last year. In my life, no one cared that I was gay.
No.
Really? I've never really, other than high school, no one's ever, I've never not gotten a job or whatever. And of course, people can say it's because you're cisgendered white male.
Well, I'm sure they love to say that, but I'm in the same position. I always got the jobs that I wanted, and I was always had the opportunity to sort of tell people that I would start talking about boyfriends. But hairdressing does allow you to do that.
Yeah, sure.
I understand that, but I never once did I really experience it in my adult life.
No.
But I don't want to be annoying either. Because you can be. And also, you've got to be careful what you say, because that can drive it to you. Your thoughts become your words, and your words become your actions. So when people talk to me about it, it's
not a popular opinion. A lot of people don't want to hear it,
Yeah.
But I've never been a victim.
No.
I mean, even when I was beaten up, I never felt like a victim. I never felt like a victim.
No.
That means they win. That's not happening.
Yeah, that's right. Do you remember them?
Yes.
Well, are they still alive?
Apparently not.
Okay, right. Yeah. I know the boy that set fire to my locker has died, and it's awful too, because they die really terrible deaths. He had terrible cancer. I certainly didn't wish it upon him. At the time, though, I was more concerned with the teacher.
I never hated the
No.
I never hated them. I just thought, oh wow, you must have a really shitty life.
Even at that time, you thought that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because where are they getting it from at such a young age?
It's coming from, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I just think, I go to my parents and they're like incredible, and I think your parents are probably beating you up, like, and that doesn't mean it's okay to beat me up to make yourself feel better. That's not okay. But at the same time, I'm not a victim.
No. So that almost leads us on to my next question, which you would have watched, with broadcasting events that you've worked on, you would have watched our community change or evolve, should we say, over the decades. Have we changed for the better, or what's changed for the better?
What's changed for the better? What's changed for the better? I guess that really people can live, less people are finding employment difficult, and less people are finding the healthcare system difficult. It's those kind of things where I think the good change has become, hopefully everyone can tell their family doctor that they're queer. It's things like that. I hope that everyone can apply for a flat when you see flatmates wanted and it being queer. I'm sure it does make a difference in some places, but I would like to think that it's less of an issue now. Things like that. Because that's what it's the daily, it's the admin of life. You don't need the extra layers of difficulty. It's difficult enough without having to have that other layer of queerness being a hindrance.
Do you have any worries about where we are now?
I worry that sometimes we push too far and that we just piss off people that we don't need to piss off.
How are we doing that? I think you're choosing your words.
Yes, of course I am, because it's, the thoughts that I'm having are unpopular opinion.
This is why I talked to you first about whether, because it's
I worry that sometimes we push too far and piss off people who are our allies and our friends, and that we can be too demanding about things that they didn't give a shit about in the first place.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to think that people who are our allies get pissed off because they're told they have to have their pronouns in their emails at work, and they don't want to have their pronouns in their emails at work. If someone wants to, then 100% go for gold. But if someone doesn't want to, don't make them feel, don't turn them from being our ally to being annoyed with us. That's defeating the purpose. You're not winning them over. You're just pissing them off.
What's your opinion on and how did it begin? Because we never saw this. How did it even begin? Who brought this up?
Pronouns?
Yeah. How did it even happen?
I think it's an academic. I think it started as a bit of an academic idea. So, and I'm not an academic.
Sure.
So I don't feel qualified to speak on it like that. I have a degree, but I'm not an academic.
I have a trade.
I don't feel like, I don't know where it first came from, so I can't say. And I will totally respect if someone wants to be referred to in any pronoun. I will respect that. It doesn't hurt me to respect people that. But I just think we walk a fine line of pushing it on to other people. For example, there is a queer group here in Auckland that I sometimes go to their meetings, and we have name stickers, and it requires us to put our pronouns on there.
Right.
And I just don't want to put my pronouns on there because I don't care. And if someone wants to, like, great. If your pronouns, that's fantastic. And whatever you put, I'm 100% going to support you in that and respect that. And I will address you by those pronouns. But pronouns are not, for my identity, they're not important. So I don't really want them there. So I don't feel I should have to have them there.
And people do get very upset about it. For me, I wouldn't do it either because I think I'm a visual person. I always have been. You can sort of tell. But then if we're in certain environments, I think the name is really important, to tell the truth. And then you watch conversation and listen to what people call you, especially when we're dealing with anyone that is, say, a trans woman or a trans man, and I the only thing I struggle with is certainly, they, thems, because it's all about grammar to me, and I try to understand that. And when you're talking about our allies, they've been in situations where it's so important that, if you don't call them the correct pronoun, then they can turn it into a PG, and I've heard that happen to a lot, which is really sad because there isn't really any need, like you said about our allies. We need to keep them. They're really important. And so they certainly don't want to offend, but they also can't understand why we're being so offended.
A classic example is I just mentioned earlier that, at BFM in the 90s, all the rock and roll guys who were like, and they took me under their wing, and they were great to me, and I felt like a part of that family. But also, I was easy to get on with. Do you know what I mean? Like I was no problem. I was no drama. I wasn't going to make them feel bad about anything. There was no homophobia at all, but it was kind of like, it's a two-way street. You've got to be cool too. You've got to be fun to be around, and they certainly with me, they didn't have to walk on eggshells. And I didn't. It was not. It was easy.
Yeah, it's a difficult topic, really, to tell.
Difficult. Everyone, it's a very like you asked me earlier how do I feel about the future of our community? I think I worry about that we've become quite tribal within our community. I remember back in the 90s going out, and you'd go to the staircase and there would be cis men, cis women, lesbians, twinks, drag queens, whawhawhinge, Takatāpui, whakawahine, butch dykes, camp boys, old, young, all in the one room, all getting along. You look at the early hero parties, the early hero parades, they're on YouTube. You look at those, those hero parades, and there were floats for, Pacifica, Whawhawhinge, all the Māori Ropu groups there. Everyone was just we were all in it together. And it's almost, have things become so easy for us that it's almost like we are inventing problems within instead of enjoying the freedoms that we won and just getting on with living. It's kind of like some people have to have drama, and some people have to have a cause, and in some ways it's becoming tribal has, in some parts of our community, turned on ourselves.
Which is sad.
Which I worry about. It's worrying.
Yeah, that's true.
We're more, the community itself now is within our community. I think we are more divided than we used to be.
When we shouldn't be, really, should we?
Of course not. But it's almost like we got everything we asked for.
We did. Especially when it comes to marriage, and especially in 1986, that was such a change for us. 1986 was an incredible time. Before that, it was illegal, literally a few days before. So 1986 was such an incredible time, and we've just, and then it was steps to getting to, say, a civil union, and then we got to gay marriage, and it was just wonderful. And then identity.
But also, you're missing out something I think is even bigger, is that we used to die. And we've stopped dying from HIV/AIDS. True. I think that having legal recognition and not dying of a virus, I think that those are the two things that we've overcome, and we don't need each other like we used to. We used to need each other to look after ourselves, and also we were dying, and we had to look after the sick, people who are sick, but also, there was a unity within the safe sex message. Hero parties and the hero parade, the driving factor of that was to promote safe sex, because if we don't promote safe sex within our communities, we will continue to die. And so there was that urgency and that kaupapa above us that really held us together. That was the glue that forced us to stick together, because the alternative was that we were going to die. And that young people now have no concept of the seriousness of what it would have meant to not stick together. And we got over ourselves. The ego, it tempered, it mitigated the ego, because there was a bigger goal that we all had to stay focused on. And we were all more, in the street back then, if you saw a fellow queer from, you'd acknowledge, there was a more of a friendly, I see you, like passing on the street, it was a lot more togetherness. It's like we're on the same team. Whereas now we're not all on, it doesn't feel like we're all on the same team, because, I guess we don't need to be anymore.
But why? Why are we not dying of it anymore?
Oh, because medication got better. I mean, that's the crux of it. Medication got better.
There's still numbers, though, isn't there, of people that are coming into contact with HIV, but because of the medication.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you take the medication properly, as you're supposed to, it's completely, it's manageable, and you can live a normal life expectancy.
What about
just prep and all those things? So
so what about the preventative one? What about the preventative medication? What do you know about PrEP?
That you take it to prevent getting HIV.
No, but so how long has it been around? It's been around like about, say, 10 years, hasn't it? So
I feel like it's more about. I feel like it's been in mainstream consciousness for about 5 years. I could be wrong. I don't feel like it's 10.
My own knowledge of certainly of the combination drug therapy that came out in the mid to late 90s in Sydney, and that was dropping people's T cells were fine, and they were starting to become undetectable. And then when PrEP came in, that is literally to stop you from coming into contact with HIV. But what is this doing to our organs? What is it doing to?
Well, I mean, I'm not a doctor.
No, you've never heard of any.
It's too soon to tell. It's too soon to tell. But if you contract HIV and you have to take medication, long term, it's not great for your organs either. So
no, but then I have a very dear friend. Jeff. He's had it for since the early 90s, and he went on to combination drug therapy, and it's a miracle. It's a miracle, and he has a wonderful life. And but I'm not talking about people that are living with HIV. I'm talking about people that, don't have to live with it. And even, I just wonder whether PrEP is really that safe for you more than what we know. You know what I mean? Certainly condoms are certainly a lot safer.
You would need to ask a doctor.
Yeah.
Of which I am not.
No, I know. But I just wondered if you knew anything about it.
No, I think it's a good thing, and I encourage people to use it now if that's the best thing, if it's the best line of defense for them. And I do think it is helping reduce numbers of infections.
Yeah, and do a lot of people know about it too? As obviously it's.
Oh, I think within the queer community they do. I'm not sure about the bisexual community. I think bisexual men, especially married bisexual men, have always been living in the grey, living in the in-between space. And so they've always, it's more complicated for them if you're a man possibly married who also has sex with men on the side. I think that's I don't know how many of them are taking PrEP.
Well, and they shouldn't they, really? Especially if they are, because it's the safety issue with families and mums and their wives. And so
there was always those horror stories. There are those horror stories of those bisexual men that became HIV positive through having sex with men and then had to tell their wives and children. That's, you used to hear those stories, and it's kind of like that would be a very difficult conversation, and a very difficult path to navigate.
Yeah, because
it happened. Maybe still does.
Yeah, maybe still does. And I enjoyed talking about this, certainly when AIDS came and HIV and people living with HIV, and certainly when I was living in Auckland and then in the early 90s. And we were an incredible community. And that's where I miss, a lot of our tomboys, a lot of lesbian women that cared for us and cared for people. And I really missed that period, because now we have a lot of youth that get really trapped in am I a boy? Am I a girl? But, actually you might just be a tomboy, but that's okay. You don't necessarily have to.
Well, I remember you go out every Friday, Saturday, and they'd be, you'd see all the butch tykes who were always usually really stylish,
Really stylish. Yeah.
You don't see them as much now.
No.
Often, a lot of them have become trans men.
But then they might not actually be,
That's up to them.
It's entirely up to them, of course. Thanks for sharing that. So I
will just say that I often make a joke, and this is a joke, talking about our community togetherness. I often say, bring back AIDS, because that's when the community was at its closest. Which of course I do not mean, but when we had adversity like HIV and law reform, it was the adversity that made our community incredible. Like back in those early days, our community was incredible.
Yes.
we were at our peak. As the community, we were at our peak.
But we're certainly not saying it's not here anymore, because it's still here.
No, but I'm just talking about our community togetherness.
Yes.
Was at its peak when we had real adversity, like legal discrimination and people dying of HIV/AIDS. It forced us to stick together like glue.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I miss those days.
Bring back adversity. We've got it too easy.
I want to talk about, you created Woof, which I love because it's camp and it's funny and it's warm and it's very community, which sounds like everything that you are. All at once, how did it come about?
Julian Cook was putting together the first Auckland Pride festivals. This is way after Hero. There'd been nothing for a long time. And then some community members decided to create Auckland Pride, and Julian Cook was instrumental in creating that festival. And he's a mate of mine, and we were talking, and I said, what can I do? I want to do something in the festival. But in my mind, it was like, I only want to do something if I enjoy it. I don't want to do something, if I don't really enjoy it. I'm too old for that. So I'm thinking about, what do I enjoy? What do I actually love? Because that's actually what's going to motivate me. And I love animals and I love dogs. And I thought, what can I do with animals and dogs? And I thought, why not have a really camp dog show? And I called up two friends of mine, Moana and Paul. Paul and I we used to call it the Auckland Pride debate with Jacinda and Nikki.
Oh, yes.
We did that for many years, and that was hugely useful. Anyway, yeah, so I called two friends of mine who were dog lovers, and the three of us got together and organized it, and we all complement each other's skills, and it took off, and now everyone loves it. So.
How many have you done?
11.
Wow.
It was rained out one year, so it was like 12 years. I think we've done 11 of them.
And still in the same.
Maybe one was cancelled from COVID as well, so maybe 2 years didn't happen.
And still the same place, the same park?
We used to, the first ones were on top of Mount Albert.
Okay.
And then we moved down into Freeman's Bay because there's a natural amphitheater there within the valley, and it's more shady. And it just works really well. Waiting for you to come and be in touch.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's true. I still think you should do a cat show, because there's lots of lesbians with cats and there's lots of gays with cats. We love cats.
Yes, and I would love someone to do that.
You're sticking to dogs.
Yes. I love all animals to the extent that I do not eat them, but I'm more drawn to dogs. I only want to do things that I'm drawn to. If someone did a cat show, I would be there. I would be a judge. I would love to go, but I lean into dogs. So as you get older, I believe you have more success doing things you naturally lean into.
Okay. Why do you think queer people love their animals so much?
Well, I mean, there's all the old cliches that we don't have children and that they're our children, and then they give unconditional love and all of those, things that I've said a million times before, but it's true. It's just, dogs are better than humans. Dogs are much better than humans. So it's a no-brainer. And no one can argue that.
That's true. So what has exhausted you in our community?
Well, just seeing the division is exhausting. Like what we've spoken about, seeing the division within the community and not seeing it at its peak like it has been in the past. That's exhausting, and learning to just let go of it. You have to let go. You have to, because I can't change it, so I have to let go of it. So that's.
Have you been in any debates around it?
No.
When you see it coming to you, or as a conversation and spoken about, do you just act like you did when you were a teenager, that it's going to be over soon?
No, not at all. No, I'm 50, and I can't speak for the younger generation. That's for them to speak and find their own path.
Okay.
The younger generation, they have their own path and their own way of doing things and their own beliefs and things, and that's.
Yes, you just let them communicate here, and
I would like them to learn their queer whakapapa and learn about Hero and law reform and HIV and AIDS. I would like that to happen. so they understand. Because, some of them, I hear them speaking now and I think, you're kind of reinventing history. You weren't there and that's not how it went. But
yeah, because somebody's told them.
yeah. Also, sometimes I think they're kind of believing what they want to believe.
So how do you see yourself now compared to the younger Stephen?
I feel fundamentally my Wairoa is the same. I guess I see myself, I feel like I'm the same person as I was. I think I'm probably better at just letting go of things now.
Okay.
You learn that I have less energy than I did when I was 25. So I'm more conscious of where that energy goes. I don't have the time anymore for things that aren't contributing to my life. What's the point? There's no point. So I let it go.
Yes. What does aging feel like then for you?
Aging feels fantastic.
Okay.
No, I'm looking forward to getting old. I'm looking forward to the rest of my life. I'm not afraid of it. Like, I'm looking forward to retirement. Looking forward to, it's going to be great. You have to look forward to things. Otherwise, what's the point? You have to look forward to the future. You have to create things now that are going to allow you to have a good future. So you've got to have something to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, where are you? What are you doing? What's the point? You're in a hole. You need to be thinking about what your next chapter is going to be.
But then also living the chapter that you have now well, with kindness, as you were saying, and with
Also, you need to know, like, what is your mountain? Your mountain has to be the thing in the distance where you want to be sitting on top of that mountain, and that's the best place you can be. So what you do in your life, you have to be, in some way, it doesn't have to be every day, but in your life now, you need to be putting things in place so that you're heading towards that mountain.
Yes.
You might veer off the track a little bit here and there, but generally you need to come back to the path that's leading you to your mountain.
What makes you angry today?
Seeing how divided the community is.
Still. So traffic doesn't make you angry, or your laundromat?
No, I think what makes me angry is just seeing how social media has made the whole world tribal. I spoke earlier about how the queer community has become tribal, but it's really synonymous with society in general. It's not just us, it's the world. We have social media and other things, but generally this kind of people get into these echo chambers and algorithms, and this is why we have people like Trump and the one nation party getting into parliament in Australia, is because social media is preying on us. It's like it's creating these little groups that are of opposing ideologies. And it wasn't like that before Facebook or the internet.
Social media, really.
I blame it. It's the anti-vaxxers, the racism, the xenophobia, the homophobia. It's because you can say anything on social media and you will find people that will agree with you, and then you start egging each other on, and then then your algorithm goes into that. If you make I could make a racist comment, no matter how incorrect it is, on social media, and there will be people that will, there's Americans, they're taking our jobs, they're terrible drivers, it's like, and they piles on and piles, and suddenly you're seeing posts about immigrants taking jobs, and it just goes on and on and on, and you get thicker and thicker and deeper into that hole, and suddenly you hate all immigrants, and then suddenly you hate all trans people, or you hate all Māori people. It's like, it's disgusting.
Because we don't all think the same. Doesn't matter what.
No, we don't. But we don't. But we used to. But social media has given us echo chambers where we don't hear other opinions. That's the difference. It used to be you go down to the local pub or the club, and there was a variety of people in there with differing opinions, and you would hear different opinions, and you would agree with it or not, but you were getting different information. Whereas now, when people go down these rabbit hole algorithms, they're only hearing the xenophobic comments.
Mm.
And it just reinforces that little germ, that little seed of misinformation and hate that they had. All those comments are just watering it. And so it becomes deeper and deeper entrenched in you. And that's the only thing you're going to believe. And when you go to the polls to vote, you're voting for next minute, you're voting for the racist party.
Mm. Which is exactly what happened with Trump.
It's happening all over the world.
Yeah. So
it's happening here.
Well, that's right. We're pretty close to it, aren't we? And let's all get out and vote. Anyway. Right, mate. Now, who knows what it's going to do? In all these polls, it'll make so much. Who knows whether any of them are true? So what's your, I'm not going to go any further, but these are questions that I just love how you're answering them for me. What's your most toxic trait then?
My most toxic trait? My most toxic trait would be just being stubborn. Not being forgiving.
Oh, you're not forgiving?
I'm getting less forgiving as I get older.
Right.
It's like, if someone pisses me off too much, I'm like, over it. You're like, I'll just hang out with other people.
What's one thing you secretly love about people wouldn't expect? What's one thing you secretly love that people wouldn't expect?
One thing that I secretly love that people wouldn't expect.
There's something, Stephen.
I don't know. Aeroplanes?
Oh, yes. I was surprised by that. Yes. And tell us how you love airplanes. What do you do with, have you got an airplane? Have you built a model?
No, but it's only a matter of time. No, I don't know. I'm a plane geek. I know, I can look at a plane and I can tell you what model it is and where it was made and probably what the configuration of seating is inside. I don't know. Those things are incredible. And I love travel, so it's all tied in. And in the past, I've been a nervous flyer at times. So it's kind of like when you're a nervous flyer, you end up kind of knowing everything about the plane.
Okay.
Because you want to know everything that can go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I love traveling, but it's not like I like the planes.
Yeah, like I know people. I've got friends that they're flying somewhere, and I'll say, "Oh, what plane are you on?" And they're like, "How can you not know what plane? You don't know if it's an Airbus or a Boeing or if it's 777?"
No, I know
what you're getting on.
Well, the captain does say what airline what sort of plane you're on. They do say that, don't they? You're on this plane.
But when you book, you see what.
Oh, can you? I never knew that. I never knew that. I never knew that. No,
that blows my mind.
I love how when I called you the other day and you were at an airport, because this is the extent that you like planes. You like watching them come in.
Yes.
And you watched a plane come in that was tell us.
What?
Okay.
I don't remember. There was I probably watched 100.
So you were on Grindr and a certain airline came in and then all these.
Oh, I know. I said to you, I had two Chinese planes coming in. There was a China Southern plane and a China Eastern. Yes. It was a China Eastern 777 and a China Southern 787 coming in. Those are types of planes. And about 20 minutes later on Grindr, there were several Chinese people popping up on Grindr, and they were 2 kilometers away, and the airport was 2 kilometers away. Obviously, they've gotten off and turned on Grindr, and good on them.
Absolutely, because they have no Grindr in China or Hong Kong. Maybe Hong Kong.
Yeah, and there's ways around. I know in China they have their own ecosystem of internet. They have WeChat and all of that, and they have their own universe of apps there. But I think there are VPNs and things which allows them to get through that.
I thought that was fascinating. I had no idea that you felt that way about planes. So if you had a warning label, what would it say?
Warning?
Mm-hmm.
Caution. Truth could be brutal. Don't be too sensitive.
Okay. Yeah. Warning. Truth could be brutal. Don't be so sensitive.
Yes.
And lastly, what would the older Stephen say to the younger Stephen from Taupo?
Keep going. You're on the right path.
Did you? Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't change anything.
No. I wouldn't either.
Like what? Like what? There's nothing. I wouldn't change anything.
Well, that was amazing, Stephen.
Maybe come out earlier.
Yeah, I know, but who knows what would have happened?
Who knows? Exactly. You
I
can't
don't
go back.
even know whether it had been that important, because then there's also, I've met people that were like us, growing up, and then they weren't anymore. They just had a way about them.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean because you're different or effeminate as a boy or walk a particular way that you are going to be our sexuality.
People will treat you how you treat yourself.
Yeah.
People will treat you how you treat yourself.
Mm.
That if you treat yourself like a victim, people will treat you like a victim. If you treat yourself like calm, confident, and secure, people will treat you like you're calm, confident, and secure. That's it.
On that note, that was perfect. Thank you.